The space race has reached new heights in recent years, with countries and private companies striving to push the boundaries of human exploration and technological innovation. Hey there, welcome to Beyond the Gravity, a channel dedicated to discovering more about space, our final frontier. Today, we will explore the heightened intensity of the latest space race taking the world by storm. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, and we have liftoff. Thousands of satellites have been placed into orbit around our Earth. 12 men have landed on and set foot on our moon. Modern robotic rovers that we have sent to Mars are now searching the planet for evidence of life. And we've only just got started. If all goes as planned this decade, the 2020s will rank as the most significant decade in the over 100,000-year history of human exploration. These are all of the many reasons I'm going to begin by talking about India, the newest nation to have entered humanity's space race. While India has been launching satellites and other probes out into the great beyond for a couple of decades now, the Indian Space Research Organization, also known as ISRO, is finally at the precipice of human spaceflight, which is a significant milestone. What only just began in 2007, the Indian human spaceflight program has been working on its first crewed orbital spacecraft, known as Gaganyaan or Skycraft, for over a decade now. This 3.7-ton spacecraft has a crew capacity of 3 people and is expected to launch atop the already proven GSLV Mark III launch vehicle, carrying the first Indian crew into orbit this year in 2024 or early 2025. But before this eventual mission, there's a lot of work left to do because 2 unmanned test flights need to be made first to prove that the launch vehicle works properly. During all of these flights, India's Satish Dhawan Space Center will launch a spacecraft into low Earth orbit, aka LEO, at 400 kilometers above Earth. After a few days of orbit, the spacecraft will deorbit and land in the Bay of Bengal, making India one of only 4 countries capable of launching its people into space, alongside Russia, the United States, and China. The Chinese space station, Tiangong, is set to become the 3rd Chinese space station in recent decades, following Tiangong-1 and Tiangong-2. This long-term mission aims to establish China's permanent presence in space, a feat they haven't achieved since being banned from the International Space Station in 2011. The US government's new law prohibiting American contact with the Chinese space program has led to NASA's inability to work with the Chinese space program for the past decade. As of September 2021, China has launched its astronauts, becoming the 3rd nation to complete 18 missions without a single fatality. Tiangong is 1/5 the size of the current ISS and capable of carrying up to 3 crew members at any given time. However, that station wasn't the end of China's ambitions in space that decade. 8 years ahead of schedule, in 2027, China and Russia want to open a joint Sino-Russian outpost on the Moon's south pole. This accomplishment might spark the global space race in the second part of this decade by enabling the first Chinese and Russian astronauts to set foot on the Moon. Besides the goals of nation-states, there are also the goals of private corporations this time. Among them is Jeff Bezos's private space company, Blue Origin, which he is currently spending $1 billion a year of his capital supporting. By the end of the decade in 2030, Blue Origin's most ambitious goal announced so far is constructing a private space station in low Earth orbit that they're calling Orbital Reef. The Orbital Reef is designed to support up to 10 people at a time with a complete full-service luxury hotel on board. The space station is primarily intended to become the premier destination for ultra-wealthy tourists enthusiastic about space. And then there's Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, having already launched nearly 150 missions to space, including resupplying the International Space Station regularly, landing their first stage boosters, and even launching a car into orbit. SpaceX retains a hefty $100 billion valuation and is undoubtedly the most accomplished of all the private space companies. Their newest rocket, currently under design and construction, is called Starship. Designed to be 100% fully reusable, the largest rocket ever created will be capable of blasting off 100 tons of payload into orbit at a time. One of Starship's first planned missions this decade is co-named Dear Moon, conceived of and paid for by Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa. The mission aims to take himself and 8 of his friends on an unforgettable journey completely around the moon and back to Earth. Pending the success of an uncrewed mission around the moon first, the Starship is expected to embark on this journey no earlier than 2024. But of course, this is only the beginning of SpaceX's ambitions this decade. Elon Musk has set his entire company's ambitions on the colonization of Mars, and as of October 2020, he has named the year 2024 as the primary goal for the first planned landing of an uncrewed mission using Starship on the Red Planet. Elon Musk's ambitions for Mars this decade have been well publicized, but landing people on that planet is far from their only plans. They're also using Starship in collaboration with NASA to put humans back on the moon by 2025, within just 3 years from now, as part of the Artemis program envisioned by NASA with a $35 billion budget. The Artemis program aims to return humans to the moon by 2025, marking the first crewed mission in over half a century since 1972. This mission will also feature the first woman and person of color landing on the moon's surface. NASA plans to establish a permanent base camp on the moon's surface by the end of 2030. But NASA has many more exciting plans this decade beyond just returning humans to the moon. The unique unmanned missions don't stop there. The European Space Agency ESA has its very own mission to another set of important moons around Jupiter, cleverly codenamed JUICE, or Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, launched in 2023. JUICE will study 3 of the 4 Galilean moons orbiting Jupiter: Ganymede, Callisto, and Europa. Like Titan, these 3 moons are each believed to have liquid oceans of water beneath their surface, making them all potentially habitable for life. So ultimately, there's much to look forward to over the next decade of space exploration. From multiple brand new space stations to returning to the moon again after half a century, and to humanity setting foot on the first planet besides our own, the decade ahead is set to become the brightest and the boldest of any era in human exploration that is so far. If you have any insights, questions, or opinions on this matter, share them in the comments below. Thanks for watching and for subscribing to us here at Beyond the Gravity, and we will see you in the next video.